Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top. Teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colin Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the C&Z up on your radio. And now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. We started from the bottom.
Oh, yes, Thrive Nation. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Thrive Time Show on your radio. And on today's show, we're talking about a subject that I think that is near and dear to my heart. The subject is when you get kicked out of a college and they ask you to come back and to speak to the students, what do you say? When you get kicked out of a college and they ask you to come back to speak to the students or to the people, what do you say? And our secondary topic is defining and protecting your brand. So here's the little backstory for you. Many years ago, I went to Oral Roberts University, and when I went there, the school's president, his name was Richard Roberts. And Richard Roberts, much like anybody out there, myself included, is not a perfect man. And I was going to college, and much like anybody who's an 18-year-old, you're looking for a utopia. You want there to be a world where where everyone's values align perfectly with their actions. And I did not see the actions aligning perfectly with the values of the school. But I also would say objectively now, as a 37-year-old man, looking back at it, I don't think there's any organization or place in the world, any country, anything at all where everybody's values completely align with their actions. I think otherwise we'd all be in great shape. We would all just be the perfect parents. We would all just be billionaires. I mean, so you've got to you could know what to do, and then deciding to actually do what you know to do and aligning your actions with your values. That's not a easy thing to do for everybody. But anyway, I wrote a song about Oral Roberts University that I thought was hilarious with my friend called the ORU Slim Shady. And I'll put that on the show notes today. But I thought it was going to be just, hilarious. I'll share it with some buddies. And that was during the time where Eminem came out with his song called Slim Shady. And I just thought it'd be kind of a funny parody, a spoof. And I didn't realize it would catch on so well. And so my buddy Adam Bagwell and I did the song together. And it resulted in me getting to have an interactive meeting with the Dean of Men, Devin.
Wow.
Devin, did you go to college anywhere?
I went to Tulsa Community College.
And did you have so you didn't live on campus?
No.
Well, at Oral Roberts University, you live on campus. And so
Right.
there's like 35 guys on a wing, we'll call it.
Okay.
And then there's, there's like 35 guys on a wing. And then there are maybe, you have like 3 wings per floor, and you have like 7 to 8 floors. So you've got 24 wings, let's say, on the brother wing, and then you have 24 wings on the sister wing.
Okay.
And so what happens is you get kind of paired up with the sister wing. So my wing that I was on was called Covenant. The Covenant wing, when there's 35 guys, kind of like a fraternity almost.
Okay.
And then the women, they have a female dorm because it wasn't co-ed dorms.
Right.
So we were paired up with a wing, I believe, called Destiny at the time. And so, long story short, it's a nice college campus, and then there's like 3 or 4 different dormitories for men and 3 or 4 different ones for women. Well, there's the Dean of Men who is in charge of your whole dormitory. So he's in charge of all 6 floors or 8 floors and all the wings. And I got a call from him, and he said, "Hey, I'd like to have you come on down and chat with me as soon as possible." And I'm like, okay. And this is shortly after recording the ORU Slim Shady, okay? And I'd given it on a CD to a friend of mine. Okay, I just gave it to him. I didn't give it to everybody else. He said, "Hey, I want to hear it." So I gave it to him, and he pulls me aside and he says, "Clay, do you remember do you remember putting a song on the student voicemail?" And I said, "What?" He goes, "Every single student at Oral Roberts University just received this voicemail." And it says, "You have a message from Dean Boyd's office." Boop. And it played the song. And I'm like, "I don't recall that, although that is hilarious." Who did that? And he's like, "This is not good for you." And I'm like, okay. And I didn't ever want to graduate from college, so I wasn't really super disturbed by the whole thing.
Right.
But then, like, the next day, I'm walking to campus. I'm walking to chapel at Oral Roberts University. We had to go to chapel twice a week. I think it was twice a week. And I'm walking to Christ Chapel, and some guy that I've never met before is like, whoop, 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 whoop. DJ Clay, all right. And I'm like, I promoted dance parties. That's how I paid my way through college, but I don't know him. And I was well known on campus, but I didn't. And then I'm walking down. I'm walking. I remember I was walking towards to lunch from my dorm room after chapel, and everybody's playing the song. You can hear it in different dorm rooms.
Gosh.
And I'm like, this isn't going to go well. So then I get another voicemail, and I play it, and it's like, boop, boop. Clay, this is Dean Boyd's office. You must report to the dean's office immediately. And I'm going, oh, wow, I'm getting to meet all the deans, meeting all the people. And anyway, I got asked to leave that college. I got asked to apologize to the students. I guess they asked me if I would stand up in chapel and apologize to all the students for writing the song. And I refused to do it. And so as a consequence, I got kicked out of college. And so I got kicked out of Oral Roberts University. And then recently, they've asked me to come and speak to them. And so I'm speaking to Oral Roberts University, and I think that is hilarious. And so I'm sort of excited that I'm speaking to them, but I'm also sort of saying, so ORU, if you're out there, if you're listening and you have an ORU connection, I'm really sorry that I wrote a parody that was very true and that it caught on so well. But I enjoyed writing it, and that's the deal. So now they've asked me to come back and speak, and so I said, well, okay, what do you want me to talk on? And they said, well, we want you to teach your marketing and branding stuff. And so on today's show, we're going to be teaching defining your branding and protecting your brand. Defining and protecting your brand. And so I have a lot of information ready to go, and I'm going to break it down for you. So first off, what is the purpose of branding? So Devin, from your perspective, if you had to explain to somebody, you do all the coding, you help code all the websites for our clients.
Right.
You're not so much on the graphic design side, although you can do that if you need to.
Right.
Talk to me about what branding is on a very basic level from your perspective, and why all of our clients, all the businesses out there, why they need to get their branding high and tight.
Well, branding, from my perspective, is just how your company, how yourself, how you're perceived by anybody. So if you have just a personal brand, your personal brand is going to be reflected by the things that you do on the day to day. So for me in coding, you probably don't see necessarily my brand in the coding, apart from the fact that things work well and the websites look good because I'm able to pull the things out that the graphic designers are able to give me.
I'll give you an example out there. If you're listening right now, if you go to our show notes from today's show, I'm going to give you a notable quotable, then I'm going to give you a lot of examples. But Elon Musk, Devin, Elon Musk 100% agrees with you.
Elon Musk!
This just in, 1 point for you, Devin. Woo. Elon Musk says, brand is just a perception. And perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it'll be ahead. Other times it will be behind. But brand is simply a collective impression some have about a product. Elon Musk. This is the guy behind Tesla, PayPal, SpaceX, SolarCity. So I'm going to give the listeners some examples of this. If you think about Tiffany jewelry, what color do you associate, Devin, with Tiffany jewelry? What do you have a certain color? People call it Tiffany blue, right? Tiffany blue. You've seen it. So if you go out there and you buy your loved one a gift from Tiffany's and you present it to them, when they see the box, right away they assume it's super high quality.
Right.
Another example would be the Apple packaging. Steve Jobs said before he passed he wanted the Apple packaging to be so good that people would want to keep the boxes and not know why.
Right. I definitely have 4 or 5 Apple product boxes at my house.
Why are we keeping them?
Because they're great.
Are we going to use them as a re-gift move? Or are we going, oh, hey, just joking with you, but I did not get you an iPad. I actually just got you some chocolates in an iPad box that I've kept for years, and I use it as a re-gift move. No, we don't do that. But at the same time, the packaging was great. We want to keep it.
Right.
Tiffany, as an example. And I would just ask the listeners out there, what is your brand? What does your brand stand for? Let's think about the world's most iconic brands. We think about Harley, right? Harley. We'll put links to the logos here for the world's most successful company. But the world's most successful companies, you have Coca-Cola, you've got McDonald's, ba-da-ba-ba-ba. You got the Harley, you got Starbucks. You have big companies, but the brand is just the perception that you have of the companies. So, Devin, talk to me about logos and why the logos don't have to be super complicated to make a great brand.
Well, because your brand is so much more than a logo. A logo is one piece of the brand, sure, but your branding encompasses not only your logo, but it encompasses your website and it takes on also your customer service, how you treat your customers, the experience that you are giving them.
So I'll give you an example. For Elephant in the Room, the men's grooming lounge, I've heard a lot of men describe that business, the Elephant in the Room men's grooming lounge, as sort of like a country club for men's hair.
Yeah. And
so we're going to have the super manager from Elephant in the Room come on the show during the second segment, and he's going to kind of break down for you what the experience is all about. And again, the branding of that company, yes, we have a logo of an elephant. That's part of the brand. But the brand is simply, as you said earlier, the overall collective impression that people have, the perception they have of the business. And so if you're out there and you have a small business right now, I would just ask you I'd ask you this rhetorically. What do most people think about your brand collectively? What is your brand? Is your brand, are you being branded as prestigious? Are you being branded as a discounter? Are you being what is your brand? And so we go back to where we started because it's the circle. At Oral Roberts University, I was branded pretty quickly as a bad guy. I was branded as a bad guy. Now, who branded me as a bad guy? I branded myself as a bad guy because you had to wear a tie every day, and so I did wear a tie. What I did was I wore just the collar. I cut off, as I was only wearing the collar of a shirt, and I wore that underneath my jerseys with a tie. I literally was wearing just a collar with a tie on it, but there was no rest of the shirt. And I did that all the time. I did that every single day. I never actually wore a long sleeve shirt. I always wore just like baseball jerseys with a tie. The craziest thing ever, but it worked. I was a DJ on a school that didn't allow social dancing. So I was a disc jockey. My entire income was made as a result of violating the school's honor code on a daily, if not twice a day basis. All my dance parties I threw, all the events I organized were all a direct violation to the handbook that I signed. The handbook said you're not allowed to organize or attend student dances. And I'm like, okay, you guys want to come to my dance? That's what I did. So, I mean, again, then I wrote a song about Oral Roberts University that the school didn't find to be very funny because it was very derogatory about the school at the time. And then I put it on a CD. No, I did not mass distribute it, but I did that. On campus, you couldn't conduct business. You're not allowed to have a business on the campus. I converted my dorm room into a studio where I very rarely did anything other than conduct business. I had always had random guys show up at my dorm room at 3 a.m, sliding $100 bills underneath my door because they were paying for their sessions. And you had to prepay. I mean, I violated every single rule that they had. And it didn't help the fact that I dressed like I was in the Wu-Tang Clan. So my brand was really not that awesome. And then when I went there to start my DJ company, I continued to dress like that while trying to meet with brides and trying to convince the mother of the bride to hire me to DJ for their weddings. And it didn't go very well. And it's not because because of some mystical habit force. It's just simply the collective impression people had of me. So if you're out there, I just ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank your branding? Is your branding a 10? Is it awesome? What does it say about you? What is your logo? What is your website? What does your brand say about you? Stay tuned. It's the Thrive Time Show on your radio.
3, 2, 1, boom! You are now entering the dojo of Mojo and the Thrive Time Show.
Thrive Time Show on the microphone. What is this? Top of the iTunes charts in the category of business. Drilling down on business topics like we are a dentist. Providing you with mentorship like you are an apprentice. And we go so fast that you might get motion sickness. Grab a pen and pad to the lab. Let's get in this. It's time to bear some fruit like some Florida oranges. 3, 2, 1. Here come the business ninjas. Oh, Thrive Nation, welcome back to the conversation. It is the Thrive Time Show on your radio. And for those of you just tuning in, I want to tee up today's conversation. This is one of the funnier moments of my life here. Years ago, I was kicked out of Oral Roberts University for writing a parody about the school's about the school. All right, and I had a problem because I felt like the school's values said one thing, but they did another. But now I'm 37, and I realize that if you're listening out there today and you're not in shape, that's what's happening to you. Because nobody says, I want to be overweight. It just means that your values, you want to be in shape, but you're not. Or if you're out there and you're working all the time and you're spending more time at work than with your kids, like you're not really spending the time with your kids you want to, then that's the same thing. Or if you're out there and you suck at sales, but you want to do good at sales, but you just mail it in. When every time you do a sales call, you fall on your sword. If you are out there and you have a whacked haircut, I mean, your haircut is just whacked, but you want to act like your haircut is not whacked. Like your haircut is bad. I mean, you're cutting your own haircut with a bowl. You're putting a bowl on your head, and you have a bowl cut. And you talk about how style matters to you, but you're not. You're looking pretty rough there, buddy. If you're out there looking like Darth Vader when he took his helmet off, because you, my friend, are not taking care of yourself, but you talk about how you value yourself. If you're somebody out there who says, I really care about my business brand a lot, but you're not cleaning your bathrooms, we all have a form of cognitive dissonance. Everybody out there, myself included, we all have something that we're not. And I'd say, well, Clay, what do you struggle with? We're talking about your personal brand. For me, I'll just say this. I'm not as nice as I want to be. I want to be nicer. I want to be kinder, and I'm not as nice and kind as I want to be. And so I go out of my way each morning to reset, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't good. Redo. Tomorrow, let's give her another whirl there, buddy. Here we go. And so I wrote a parody song about Oral Roberts University. They didn't like it very much, obviously, because it was very caustic, derogatory, and not positive. So they kicked me out of the school, and rightfully so. And then I got asked about, in 2013, so this would be 14 years later, if I would come back to fix their call center. And I'm like, what? So I came back to Oral Roberts University, and I was very aware of it, but I charged them more than I paid for my college. And so they paid me back. I thought, yes. And then recently they asked me to come speak to a group of pastors. And I thought, well, okay, that's a good radio show topic is when you get kicked out of a college and they ask you to come back, what do you talk about? And they asked me to talk about defining brand. And so my brand as an Oral Roberts University student was sort of a bad guy, sort of a bad boy, sort of a rebel. And now I think my brand is I'm a 37-year-old man with 5 kids, 25 to 35 chickens, depending upon how many ravenous animals are out there. We have cats, and my partner and I have built 14 multi-million-dollar companies. And so I think I have a confused brand. People are like, what is wrong with this guy? But I ask you this about your company today. Think about your company. Think about your business. What does your branding say about you? And I'm going to put it on the show notes so we can break down all the variables. So and I have Jason, our super manager with Elephant in the Room, on today's show to break down this topic on branding. And so is Jason a branding expert? No, he's a great manager, a great member of our team, but I want him to share with you from his experience, and I'm going to have Devin share with you. We're just going to talk about the elephant in the room as an example. So the elephant in the room, let's talk about the logo, the first variable. Jason, how would you describe the elephant in the room, men's grooming lounge, the actual logo?
It's minimal, and it's an elephant.
Okay. Well, this just in. Why, Devin, is it minimized? Why is it simplified? Why is our logo not involving 17 different colors? Why is it not super complicated? Why do we simplify logo? Why are all of the brands of the world's top logos all very simplified?
If they're too complicated, you can't put them some places. So you can't make them very small and still have them recognizable. That's part of it. Another part is whenever it's simple, I think it's Steve Jobs who says simple is hard. So whenever you're able to simplify something, then it's more recognizable, easier to use, things like that.
And we'll put a link to it on the show notes. But the world's successful brands, I mean, think about this. You have Apple, you have Coca-Cola, you have Amazon, you have Google, Starbucks, McDonald's. All these companies have very simplified logos. Now, Jason, how would you describe the elephant in the room experience, the experience of the elephant in the room men's grooming lounge?
I would say it's the opposite of the logo. It's
Okay.
not minimal. It's fully immersive. We want to offer a positive and amazing experience every single time to every guy that walks in.
Why?
Because that's our brand. That's what we want to. That's how we want to be perceived. That's how we want to represent ourselves.
How is it different than like Great Clips or something? So I've gone to a lot of great competitors of ours, but I'll just use Great Clips because Great Clips is a successful brand, economically speaking. They're doing a good job. How is Elephant in the Room different from Great Clips for all the guys out there listening?
Different because we offer you a longer experience. We're going to greet you as soon as you walk in. We're going to make you feel like home, like that country club feel.
Right.
It's going to make you feel unique. You're going to feel like the show is yours to run. You become the most important person in the room every time you're there.
And think about this, there, Thrive Nation. Think about the sights, the sounds, the smells, the music, the decor, the sights. We have a lot of man-centric, rustic decor. We have up-tempo music playing at, I'd say it's like in the Raw or Chipotle, that kind of vibe, that kind of energy. The smells, we've got a lot of essential oils, and there's a lot of smells that really, they awaken the senses. The music, like I said, it's upbeat, up-tempo. The decor, everything about the Elephant in the Room is designed to create a certain look and a certain brand and a certain feel. And I don't think a lot of people are intentional about the sights, the sounds, the smells that make up your brand. And so Elon Musk, who could not be here today, he writes, brand is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it will be ahead, other times it will be behind. But brand is simply a collective impression some people have about a product. And I want to get Devin's take on this. Stephen Furtick is a famous pastor, and he recently spoke at his church, while wearing a Jimi Hendrix T-shirt. How do you perceive that? What do you think that says about his brand, or what do you think? I just want to get your take on that. First time hearing it, what do you think about it?
I mean, I guess he likes Jimi Hendrix. He's trying to, from my perspective, he's trying to appeal to a younger crowd who maybe is more forward-thinking versus, suit and tie, kind of more the older crowd.
I'm going to put a link to Stephen Furtick's video on today's show notes of him speaking where he's wearing the Jimi Hendrix shirt, and I'll show it to you guys during the break so you can see it. And I want to get your take on what Stephen Furtick is doing with his brand. He's a pastor, Stephen Furtick. I want you to look at his brand. I would like you to comment what you think about it there. Okay. And in the meantime and in between time, Thrive Nation, as I show the guys the Stephen Furtick video, I want you to go to onyximaging.com. If you're in the Tulsa area and you're buying office supplies or printer supplies, one way to save both time and money, one way to achieve time freedom and financial freedom is to stop spending time and money on things you shouldn't be spending time and money on. Save money on your office supplies and your printer supplies by going to onyximaging.com. That's ONYXimaging.com. ONYXimaging.com. Stay tuned.
Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show. 3, 2, 1, boom!
Oh, Thrive Nation, this just in. Now that we've hit the top of the iTunes charts, Devin, we're starting to broadcast to other planets.
Wow.
Yeah, because, think about it. Who are we to discriminate against other planets? Do the aliens out there have questions about branding? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Devin, I want to get your take on this, and then we'll get back into our topic today about branding. Now, remember, the question I'm going to ask you today, if you answer it the wrong way, this will forever affect your brand. And if you get it the right way, there's no right or wrong answer here. But if you answer it the wrong way, it might affect. If you answer it a way that a lot of the Thrive Nation, basically, I would say the Thrive Nation is judging your answer here. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a tough question. I'm going to ask Jason the same question. He gets to one up you. Okay, this is the tough question, and this will affect your brand forever.
Okay,
as hundreds of thousands of people listen to this question will affect your brand forever. But there's no right or wrong answer.
Okay,
here we go. Do you believe in alien life? Do you believe in alien life? Because I'm telling you, we are now top on the iTunes charts. We were number one of all categories the other day. We broadcast in Portland and Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're ranked in the top 20 or top 10 consistently there in the business category. And so we're thinking about marketing now to aliens, other beings, other planets, other interstellar systems, other galaxies. People, the green guys are listening in going, how do we do our branding? How do we do our branding? I feel like that's how aliens talk. They use English, but they just go, how do we use our branding? How do we do? So do you believe in alien life?
I definitely believe that it's possible. I'm not going to say that it is a thing, but I mean, God put us here, so I mean, could He not also put other things?
Holy cow!
Well, okay, Jason. Now you get to. No, Jason. We're talking about branding on today's show, but this answer to this question, if you answer this question, and you can realize that half the listeners are like, "This person's crazy," or they're going to go, "Are you kidding me? It really, what a small mind, this guy." So, what do you think? Alien life? Do you think alien life exists? Life outside of the planet Earth?
Well, my response is probably going to hurt my branding in the future.
Here we go.
And
Here we go.
I'm going to phrase it as much like a politician as I possibly could and kind of dance around the answer.
Yep.
It's not that I believe wholeheartedly in life, outside of Earth, but I do think it's kind of crazy to think that there's not sentient life anywhere other than one rock in the infinity of space.
All right, I'm going to tell the listeners something that will, I think, blow their minds. I think there's definitely aliens. I think God has created definite parallel universes, and I feel like that it's going to be fun to meet these guys. That's my take. I feel like think about God. If we believe in the Judeo-Christian concept of God, He created the earth in like 6 days, and like for what else is He doing? I feel like He's like, all right, Monday I create this planet, Monday through Saturday. Next week another planet. I think there's other parallel universes. Some people say you're crazy. That's fine. Either way, it's just branding. And I bring it up because it really is a branding thing. All of a sudden, people are like, Clay Clark believes in aliens. What a sick freak. But I showed you guys the clip during the break of a pastor named Stephen Furtick, Furtick, a pastor of one of the fastest growing churches in America. His church is called Elevation Church. So I'm going to play an audio sample so all the listeners can hear Stephen Furtick preaching, just a little 10-second, 15-second excerpt so you can hear Stephen speaking. But I'd like for you guys to talk about his brand and what you think he's trying to communicate to his congregation.
This is an announcement. You don't need any other to be significant. I'm not against the term. But you don't have to be a Duchess of Sussex to be significant. No. Not to be significant in the eyes of God. If significance was predicated on marital status, Jesus was insignificant. When I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000.
Now, Steve Currington, you can weigh in on this. It's on the big screen behind you. We're talking today about branding. And, Stephen Furtick, now one of the top pastors on the planet, his church is growing quite a bit. He's wearing a Jimi Hendrix shirt while preaching. He's got ripped jeans on. You guys heard him, all right? You saw him there. So, and again, this isn't a religious discussion. We're talking about branding, and we're bringing up Stephen Furtick because I was asked to speak at Oral Roberts University, and I'm breaking down for the listeners out there what I'm teaching to the Oral Roberts University pastors there, the pastors who are attending. I'm teaching them about branding and asking them the hard questions. When people think of you, what do they think about? So I'm going to start with you, Devin. Talk to me about branding. When you watch that video of Stephen Furtick wearing a Jimi Hendrix shirt, what are your thoughts?
My first thoughts are just that he's kind of just another guy, another dude. He just has the platform. That's kind of my first perception. Is that he's just somebody I could run into on the street.
Steve Currington there, Total Ending Concepts. What is your take when you see a pastor preaching from the pulpit wearing a Jimi Hendrix T-shirt?
Well, I think it's real. I think it's just he is who he is, and I appreciate somebody that can get on stage and just be who they are, because I think a lot of people hop on stage and put on the act or put on the suit or put on something that's going to display to people what they think the people want to see instead of just being who they are. He wears jeans and he wears a T-shirt, so good for you. That's who you are. It doesn't change the message, doesn't change what you're saying or what you believe. It just is who you are. It's what you wear.
All right, so I want to get your take on this there, Jason. A quick, what is your take when you see the pastor of a church, a very, very fast-growing church called Elevation Church, and the pastor is wearing a Jimi Hendrix T-shirt?
I think he's honest and genuine, and a lot of times that's a lot easier for people to connect to than trying to relate to somebody who's branding themselves based off of what they want people to see?
Repeat that again, please. Or re-communicate that, because I think someone out there just went, whoa, I should write that down. No, seriously, that was a great take. I want to get your take on that one more time.
Yeah, so he's honest and genuine. And a lot of the times, somebody being who they are and being completely genuine and honest with you is easier to embrace than the opposite. Somebody who is trying to, like Steve said, they wear the suit and tie. It's something that's cookie cutter. It's something that's been done before. It's a preconceived brand already. He's branding himself, and I think that makes it a lot easier for the people to connect to him.
Well, I have two big teaching moments that came out of that particular example. One, you're going to think about it. Whether you agree or not, whether you agree or disagree, you're going to remember him. So that right there is a purple cow. I've never seen a pastor wear a Jimi Hendrix T-shirt, and Jimi Hendrix is famous for such songs as "Purple Haze," or you got "Foxy Lady." That's pretty impressive that he would do that. I mean, to me, or regrettable, or whatever you want to call it, but it stands out. It's remarkable. It's not invisible. It's remarkable. So I'd say, from a marketing perspective, that was pretty impressive. Two is, I think it's indicative of his overall philosophy, because during that particular sermon, he was talking a lot about Chris Brown. Chris Brown, the singer, who's made a lot of mistakes. Who hasn't? But he's made them publicly. And so he talked about how Chris Brown was performing at a prison, and he sang a song to one prisoner, just one song to a prisoner. So he personally singing to one particular prisoner. And I think he's all about forgiveness, and I think that's what he thinks the message of Christ is, and that nobody's perfect. And I think that if you listen to Stephen Furtick, that's what he's trying to communicate. But all I'm saying is he did stand out. So the question is for you, Mr. Thriver, when people think about your business, what do they think about? When they see your logo, what do they think about? What do they think about when they think about your business? And if you're out there and you're thinking about, I'm looking for a proactive CPA. I'm looking for a proactive CPA, a CPA who is proactive, a certified public accountant who is proactive. I encourage you to check out hoodcpas.com. That's hoodcpas.com.
You are now entering the dojo of Mojo and the Thrive Time Show.
All right, Thrive Nation, welcome back to the Thrive Time Show on your radio. And Thrive Nation, I mean this sincerely, you are all looking foxy today. That's one thing I want to communicate to the listeners. I don't care what anybody says about you. I don't care about the people who have seen you today, who are making a comment based upon actual visual interaction with your physical body. I'm just telling you on a metaphysical level, a level that's way deeper than that, Steve. It's above. It's a very meta level. You are looking foxy. And today we're talking about branding. Now, why are we talking about branding? Well, I was asked by Oral Roberts University to come in to speak to a group of pastors about the importance of branding. But this idea, this topic can be, any business owner out there could benefit from this. And I'm using Stephen Furtick as an example. Stephen Furtick is the pastor of a church called Elevation Church. And I'm using T.D. Jakes as an example because they both are intentional about their branding. I'm using Craig Rochelle with Life Church as an example because they're all intentional. All three of them are intentional about their branding. But if you are not intentional about your branding, by default, people will not remember you. So let's talk about the word brand for a second. Branding. Elon Musk says, this is an Elon Musk notable quotable. He writes, brand is just a perception, and a perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it will be ahead. Other times it will be behind, but brand is simply a collective impression some have about a product. But this is how a brand sounds. Because it's you're branding a cow, so that anytime that someone would see a cow, they would know who actually owned the cow. You would sear the brand into the cow's hide, so that forever, if somebody ever saw that cow, they knew whose cow it was during the day where people would steal each other's cows. So that is a way to forever people would always know who the cow owned or who the cow was owned by. Well, when you think about your business, when people see something, you want them to think about you all the time. You want them to, you want to be stuck. You want a visual image of your company to be stuck in their minds at all times. So I'm going to play the branding game for 5,000 points with Steve Currington. Steve, there are no right or wrong answers, but we're going to go around the table. Hot take. Jason, you'll be next. Devin, you're next. Here we go. For 5,000 mega points, not redeemable in heaven, when you think about a computer, what company do you think about?
Apple.
All right. Here we go. All right, Jason, when you think about coffee, what is the company that you think about?
Double shot.
Really?
Well, it's next door to him, right?
Okay, but that right there, that was not the answer I was looking for. But that means that Double Shot's doing some great branding, and they're located next to our 17th and Boston location. Yep. They've got great hats, great apparel, and great coffee.
Oh, yeah.
So
I guess you get 2 shots.
Right. Okay. Now, Devin, when you think about fast food, what company do you think about?
Chick-fil-A.
Okay. Here we go. Steve Currington.
Okay.
When you think about motorcycles, what company do you think about?
Harley Davidson.
Jason, when you think about family vacations, what's the destination you think about?
Hawaii.
That's not what I expected.
He's Disney World.
He's not impacted by big brands.
I've also never been on vacation.
Oh, okay. All right. So Devin.
I like him. His status just went up.
No, this guy is great.
No days off.
No, now Devin, when you think about that, by the way, that's a Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick, when he received the NFL championship, they had a big a parade in Boston to celebrate the New England Patriots winning another Super Bowl, and he was asked to speak, and he hopped on the mic and chanted "No days off" to a crowd of over 1 million people who are off because the city of Boston gave all the employees the day off as a way to celebrate the victory, and he chanted "No days off" to that crowd. So that's what that was. Okay, so Devin, when you think about, we're talking about branding, okay? When you think about, you say, "Gosh, I think about retail. I think about a retail store, a place I got to go to buy all my goods, all my things I need." What's a retail store you think about?
Walmart.
Walmart. Okay. Now, here's what's interesting. Why?
I used to work there.
Okay. That's not what we were expecting. There are no right and wrong answers, but
there's no right and wrong answers, but I'm going to play that sound when you give me the wrong one.
The answers that I don't like, the answers I do like, get a. The answers I don't like, get a.
That's awesome.
No, but I want you guys to think about that. Now, I'm going to sing a song to you, Steve, and you tell me what it goes to. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
I'm loving it. McDonald's.
Right. Unbelievable. So all I'm saying is branding is all it is it's the collective impression people have when they think about a product category. And if you're branding effectively, you want people to think about your company, product, or service. And that's why you have to be consistent with what you're saying over and over and over. So Elephant in the Room, Men's Grooming Lounge, Jason. Now, Jason, you better get this one right. I got my sound effect ready to go. What is the offer that we make for all first-time Elephant in the Room? For people who've never been to the Elephant in the Room before, for any man out there who comes into the Elephant in the Room, if it's their first haircut, they always get a what?
You want the full package, or do you want the finality of it, like what they pay?
Oh boy, you just get. And I've got my buttons ready, so you just go for it.
Okay, so for your first time, you get your complimentary beverage, you get your consultation with your stylist, you get your tailored haircut, you get a shampoo and condition, both at the scalp massage, hot towel, a face moisturizer, a face massage, 2 free add-ons, paraffin hand treatment, and the essential oil scalp massage, all for $1.
Yes! I'm so excited right now. I have to cue up my therapy. This is my therapy audio. I cue up my therapy audio. Whenever I'm too excited, whenever I'm so excited that something great happened, I cue up my therapy audio. I listen to this. I wear earbuds, Steve. I run around wearing this, and I'll listen to this for like 12 consecutive hours, and it helps me get out of that. If I'm too excited, I cannot contain it. I must.
A lot of pressure. You got to rise above it. You got to harness in the good energy, block out the bad. Harness, energy, block, bad. Feel the flow happy. Feel it. It's circular. It's like a carousel. You pay the quarter, you get on the horse. It goes up and down and around. Circular, circle. With the music, the flow. All good things.
That was so good. That got me so excited. Okay. So now that we've talked about what branding is, let's talk about how to brand your business. All right, let's talk about how to do that. Well, Steve Martin, the legendary comedian, musician, actor, writer, people always ask him, well, Steve, what's the key to finding a good agent? How do I really break out as a comedian? And he says this. And he says, by the way, nobody ever likes it. He says, become so good they can't ignore you. So if you watch Craig Rochelle deliver a sermon, or you watch T.D. Jakes deliver a sermon, or you watch Stephen Furtick deliver a sermon, all three of them are so good, you just cannot ignore them. I don't care what kind of branding you do. If your product sucks, and unless you're selling a vacuum cleaner, you're going to have some problems. I don't care what your logo looks like. I don't care all your jingles. I mean, if you can't deliver in the short term when someone comes in to try the product or service, then you lose.
If your product sucks and you're not Dyson, you're going to lose.
Yeah, I just want to say this out there. If you ain't the Dirt Devil, if you ain't Dyson, if you ain't any of those
Dyson sucks.
if you any of those vacuum cleaning companies, then you would probably not want to be terrible and suck. You know what I'm saying? That's just something. No, but that's a big problem though. So I want to now get into Devin's take on this. Devin, you've seen this. There was I won't mention the company's name, but you've seen contractors we've worked with in the past where they've reached out to us for coaching, and we've got them to the top of Google, and their phone rings all the time.
Right.
But the one thing they can't do is actually deliver a project on time and on budget. Why does that hurt your branding when you can't deliver on time and on budget?
It's creating a mismatch between your actual branding on what people are seeing and what you're actually delivering. So you're actually killing your own brand. You're creating cognitive dissonance among your audience.
Do you remember the movie Godzilla, Steve?
Yeah.
They had the big soundtrack by Robert Plant and P. Diddy, and it was like over-the-top branding, and every commercial you're watching TV, like every ad was, come see Godzilla.
Yeah.
Nick, you're watching any commercial, it's all co-sponsored. McDonald's is doing something with Godzilla, and it seemed like everywhere you would go, there's Godzilla posters, and you're getting all hyped. You remember seeing the movie, you're thinking to yourself, this might be the worst movie ever.
But everyone went and watched it.
Right.
Once.
But yet the movie Black Panther, I felt like came out at first where it wasn't like hyped to be the best movie ever, but that thing was good. So when we come back from the break, I want to talk about what made that movie so good that Jason, the super manager from Elephant in the Room, wanted to actually go out there and buy a Black Panther hat that he wears. Why so many people went and saw it twice. Why people saw it 3 times. Why the movie is just that people can't wait for the next one. I mean, it's what made the movie so good. Because, yeah, there was great branding, but the movie also itself was so great you could not ignore it. And if you're out there looking for a chiropractor that is so great, you just simply cannot ignore him. You want to use the chiropractor of choice for Wayne Gretzky, the NHL Hall of Fame hockey player. That's Dr. John Sibley, drjohnsibley.com. What was that? drjohnsibley.com. It's drjohnsibley.com.
And now, broadcasting live from the box that rocks, it's the Thrive Time Business Coach Radio Show.
Time for higher learning and higher earning. Taking you to the top like we're hiking Mount Vernon. We're changing the mindsets like we're incense burning. Passing on the magic like our name was Irvin. Serving up that knowledge like I was a servant. And I cite what I say so you know I'm not a servant. It's Thrive Time Show, bringing the heat while fervent. Giving it to you straight in a world that's swerving. Stacking the cash, making the dash, earning the plaques, bringing it back. Bring me the track so I can get up on the mic and speak the facts. Stacking the cash, making the dash, earning the plaques, bringing it back. Bring me the track so I can get up on the mic and speak the facts.
All right, Thrive Nation, today we are breaking down everything related to branding. Oral Roberts University, the school that once asked me to leave the school. I got kicked out of the school.
No.
They asked me to come back, ironically, and to deliver a talk to a group of pastors to teach them how branding works. And so I want to make sure that everybody, as we wrap up this show, when you finish listening to this show, that you understand 4 main concepts, just 4 ideas I want to put into your head. One is, what is branding? Well, it's a quote Elon Musk, who I think said it best. Branding is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it will be ahead, other times it will be behind. But brand is simply a collective impression some have about a product. That's Elon Musk. Now, if you're looking for a different way of kind of saying the same thing, Michael Levine, the PR consultant of choice for Michael Jackson, for Prince, for Nancy Kerrigan, for George Bush, for President Clinton, for Charlton Heston. He's been a frequent guest on the Thrive Time show, Michael Levine. He says, if you give someone a present and you give it to them in a Tiffany box, it's likely that they'll believe the gift has a higher perceived value than if you gave it to them in no box or a box of less prestige. And that's not because the receiver of the gift is a fool, but instead because we live in a culture in which we gift wrap everything. Our politicians, our corporate heads, our movie and TV stars, and even our toilet paper. So if you're listening out there, you want to make sure that your logo, this is the checklist, get your logo looking sharp. Right away, get your logo. And we're putting a link on the show notes to the world's most successful companies so you can see the logos of Apple, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Starbucks, Amazon, Google. You'll see that. Your logo has to be tight. The second is your experience has to be awesome. This is the next big idea. You can't just have great branding, but you actually have to deliver in the short term. You actually have to have a great experience that people have when they work with your product or service. And so Steve Martin, the legendary comedian, said on the Oprah Masterclass, he was asked, how do you become a successful comedian? He said, step number 1, don't worry about the branding. Worry about becoming so good they can't ignore you. Ryan Tedder, the Grammy Award-winning artist who I went to college with at Oral Roberts University, who's written songs for Paul McCartney, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and U2. He writes, when you're around enormously successful people, you realize their success isn't an accident. It's about work. So again, you could brand, but if you don't deliver, it gets squirrely. So we're going to talk about the Black Panther movie, and then we're going to talk about contractors in general, because I've hired so many that are so terrible so consistently that my mind is blown when I find a good one. Because there are great contractors out there, but I would just say, like, I'm honored to work with Shaw Homes. They're a home builder. But I have been hired multiple times to do the branding, over a dozen times, the branding and marketing for a home builder. And I have literally had to call them and say, I cannot accept your money. I'm going to refund you because your quality is so shoddy. I don't want my name associated with any part of branding your company because your quality is awful. So, Jason, when you went and saw the movie Black Panther, what went through your mind? Why did you like that movie so much? Why did it resonate with you? Because obviously it was well branded, but you liked it so much you bought the hat. Talk to me about it.
How much time do you have?
You have the whole floor. You have the whole segment. You've got all week if you want to.
No, what was great about it was I was a fan of the comic book, so typically when you have a superhero movie, they can do all the branding that they want, and then you come out of the theater thinking, much like Godzilla, that was the worst movie I've ever seen.
Right.
But the first thing I would say they did extremely well, why I loved it, was they were true to the subject matter, and on top of that, it was really entertaining. All of the actors gave it their all. They became the characters they played, so it was believable.
What is the subject matter of Black Panther? For anybody out there listening who's not familiar with that movie.
So you have young Prince T'Challa, who is the prince of the sovereign nation of Wakanda, which is like a very wealthy, technologically advanced secret kingdom in Africa.
Got it.
Typically keep to themselves, but his father ends up being assassinated. He becomes the new interim king, basically has to prove himself. In the process, he has somebody who used to be from Wakanda come back to try to usurp him and put Wakanda out into the world and fix all the world's problems.
Right.
Being the villain Killmonger, which the movie's so good that the villain, halfway through, you end up siding with him instead of the hero. So that was a really cool trade-off. But other than that, though, it's just visually pleasing to look at. The soundtrack is probably my favorite part of it.
Yep.
Came through with Kendrick Lamar, all the greats. Overall, it was just really well done, and that's why I've seen it like 4 times.
You've seen it 4 times?
Yeah, I own it.
When did you buy the hat?
I bought the hat. So I saw the movie in theaters, went to see Avengers Infinity War, bought the hat then because, of course, Black Panther was in Infinity War, and then proceeded to watch Black Panther 2 more times after that.
Now, I want you to sum up, in as few words as possible, what the overall motto, the slogan, the mantra, the elevator pitch, what the show, the central message that the show's trying to communicate, the one message you leave going, that's what they're trying to say.
So it's open to interpretation.
Yeah, sure.
But it's about becoming the king or the leader that you want to be, whether it be Killmonger's interpretation of it being somebody who's tyrannical because he has to be, or T'Challa's father, who is stern and cold because he has to be.
This is my take on it, and you might disagree. But I think the movie hammered home the Gandhi quote where it says you need to be the change you want to see.
Right.
And then I would add in parentheses, you want to be the positive change you want the world to see. Because the movie ends very positive, but it's all about like, hey, if you're not happy with the darkness around you, be the light. I mean, right. I thought that it was an uplifting movie. But all I would say is the branding of that movie was the audio.
Oh, for sure.
It was the logo. It was the experience, the movie itself. It's all of that. And if you own a small business, you got to get your logo, the experience, the sights, the sounds, the smells. So, Steve, I wanted to get your take on this. How many times, you don't have to list the number of times, but I mean, have you ever met a contractor that wanted to be marketed or branded as high end, but when you hired them, you're thinking, bro, you didn't even invoice me. You didn't charge me. You invoiced me 3 months after the job. You didn't finish on time. You kept changing the price. You cut corners on the I mean, have you ever worked with a contractor that was less than awesome?
Every single contractor I've ever worked with has been like that.
I mean, it's just amazing to me. It's amazing to me.
That's their mantra.
I have a funny story about adding on an attic onto our house years ago. We had a house. We added on an attic. And the attic, I was told by the guy, this will be done in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And I'm only saying it this way because this is how the guy talked. But I said, so you'll be done in 2 weeks. He goes, yeah, man. And I said, okay, great. So 2 weeks later, he hasn't really started yet. He goes, it's taken a long time, man, to get the supplies. So I'm like, you're sure it'll be done in 2 weeks? Because that's like tomorrow. Yeah, man. Well, he just doesn't care the entire process. So then it's like 8 weeks. And we're now into like 20 grand. And he's like, it's cost more than I predicted. But we'll get it done. And this goes on for like 3 months. And finally, I just have to kick him out of my house. Unbelievable. But he like pitched as I'm high quality, I'm on time. He knew the words to say. And if Andrew Carnegie were here today, Andrew Carnegie said, as I grow older, I pay less attention to what men say. I just watch what they do. Yeah. So I would say it's very important what you're saying, but it's more important what you're doing. Now, here's what happens is people experience cognitive dissonance, which is where your values don't align with your actions. When you see a company that offers awesome service, but you don't have a website. And I see that a lot, too, where you see a really great, they deliver. Their company's awesome. Like their actual product or service is awesome, but they don't have a functional website. Or they don't have a logo. Or they don't have... Devin, have you ever seen that before? Where you have someone who has an unbelievably great product or service, but their marketing is so terrible, you really would assume they're bad?
Yeah. In fact, that's... from what I've seen, that's a lot of the clients that we end up working with are people who have a great product, but or service, but just their branding and their perception of their company just doesn't match that.
And I would tell you why I think a lot of companies out there have a great product or service, but you don't have great branding. It's because these marketing companies, these branding companies, are ridiculous in the way they charge. I mean, Steve, there's one marketing company I used in Tulsa years ago. This is what they charged me to build DJ Connections website. $12,000.
Yep.
Plus $200 per change. Ended up coming in right under $18,000, my total cost to build DJConnection.com. And then they explained to me that the reason why it wasn't ranking in search engines is because it hadn't been built to comply with search engines. But for another $3,000, they could modify it to make it search engine friendly. And then every time I wanted to add content to the website, I had to email it to them, and they'd charge me $200. I'm not kidding. Then they said, hey, you do need a solid marketing video, though. And I said, cool, who should I use? They said, well, Video Workers is a great company. By the way, Video Workers is a great company. And they said, or Steelhouse, which, by the way, Steelhouse is a ridiculously awesome company. They make huge commercials for big-time companies. So I called to get quotes. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, I'm just trying to get a quote to make a video. And they go, yeah, our video started about $8,000. How much are you wanting to spend?
Not $8,000.
I just got mentally and financially raped to the tune of $18,000, and now you want, then and it's so branding can cost you a lot of money. That's why our Thrive Time show, our business coaching program, that's why we charge a flat rate. And I'm just telling you, if you're out there listening, for on average $1,700 a month, $1,600 a month, and we give you a quote right down to the dollar. We handle all of your marketing, your branding, your search engine optimization, your photography, your videography. We coach you through workflows, sales systems, hiring and firing. We teach you all of that, all for less money than it would cost you to hire even one $10 per hour employee. Steve, have you ever hired a $10 per hour employee?
Yes, every week.
Do they provide you marketing insight?
No.
Branding?
No.
Coaching?
No.
Workflow optimization?
No workflow comes with that. Any of those things. No.
So for less money than it would cost you to hire even one $10 per hour employee, we'll absolutely help you get to the top of the search engine ranks, help you build sales scripts, help you learn all the hiring and firing systems. We're going to teach you everything. But whether you hire us to coach your business or not, if you have awesome branding, it doesn't matter if you don't deliver. Now, let's say that you have great branding and you can deliver. Let's say you can deliver and you have great branding. This next idea is, does anybody even know you exist? Because a lot of times you see companies that have a great product or service and they have great branding, but nobody can find them. So when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about how to make sure that your company is findable, that people can actually know that you exist. Because if people don't know you exist, it's going to be hard to hire you. This just in. Steve, this just in.
Yeah.
So Thrive Nation, one company I encourage you to find, and one company that believes in advertising, one company that's a great business coaching client is Williams Contracting. That's Williams Contracting. They're at will-con.com. will-con.com. They're going to give you a realistic budget within 3 days. And you get a free copy of my book, Thrive, if you reach out to them. Now, if you're looking to add on to your restaurant, to build a new office building, to build a new restaurant, to expand your church, to build a school. Perhaps you want to add an annex onto your jail, which is what Okmulgee did. I mean, if you want to build your own jail, I mean, Steve, I tell you what, their jail is it's so pristinely constructed that people are traveling to Okmulgee to visit the jail.
Yeah.
And they're staying there for years at a time to marvel at the architectural wonders.
I actually sped through Okmulgee County hoping
Stay
that
tuned.
I could get a night.
No negative emotion, cause that's what business is. Always dominate, cause I got 5 kids. I will not lose, I don't break but bruise. They can talk about me, I can take that abuse. Here is the truth, while they make that excuse. I'll be up grinding, cause the scoreboard's the truth. He is my mentor, like my Yoda dude. He showed me the force like I was a young Luke.
All right, Thrive Nation, welcome back to the Thrive Time Show on your radio. And today we're teaching you everything you'll ever need to know about branding. But I think a lot of people overcomplicate this idea, so I'm breaking it down into 4 ideas that hopefully everybody can grasp. The first idea is, what does it mean to have a brand? Well, before we move forward, Lee Cockrell, the former executive vice president of Walt Disney World Resorts, once looked me in the eye and said to me, he said, Clay, by the way, he looked at me in both eyes, not just one.
Oh.
He said to me, he says, if you're going to be honest, you'd better be funny. So I thought to myself, okay. So here's the deal, Thrivers.
That's funny.
I want you to rate the quality of your website on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being awesome and 1 being it looks like somebody you knew who was going through a bout of Tourette's and blindness made your logo, made your website. If you're thinking about clip art being a 1, and 10 would be like Apple, all the branding they do. How would you rate your branding? If Tesla is a 10, and that there was a place I went to in Amarillo. My wife would not allow us to eat there, but I pulled over to go there, and I'm not kidding you. My daughter took a picture of it. They serve meat, and they sell tires, and the sign said, such and such is chicken and tires. I'm not kidding.
This is great.
Yes. And I thought, yes, let's go support this local business. But it's just like, you're not going in there because it says chicken and tires. This is right before you get into Amarillo. And so she would not let me pull over, but that was a real thing. And they offered on the sign, it was handwritten on the sign. It said goat, lamb, chicken, tires. And they had tires for sale. I mean, this just in. what was sad is that they were being serious. Now, I have an audio clip. I had a listener out there who is a branding expert who called in. They said, Clay, I really want to be on the show, and I'd like to talk to all the listeners out there about what will happen to someone's business if they don't have good branding. And I said, okay, could you call back later? They said, no, I cannot call back later. I'll just tell you what needs to be said now, and then you can play the audio later. And I thought, fine, you demanding branding expert. So without any further ado, this is a notable quotable from a listener out there of what will happen to your business if you don't have good branding.
Now, you kids are probably saying to yourselves, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get the world by the tail and wrap it around and pull it down and put it in my pocket. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're probably going to find out as you go out there that you're not going to amount to jack squat.
That's the deal. I mean, if you're passing out a business card to somebody and it says, here's my card. You can reach me at clay@aol.com. It's just not going to work. Clay 473276787 at AOL.com. It just doesn't instill credibility. So branding is just the collective impression people have about your brand. The notable quotable here from Elon Musk. He says, brand is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it'll be ahead. Other times it will be behind. But brand is simply a collective impression some people have about a product. Branding. Okay, so branding has to be done well. The second thing is, even if you have great branding, you have to deliver. People are going to tell people whether they like your product or service or not. That's why at Elephant in the Room, it's like every single customer, we treat them like it's our only customer we're ever going to have. And anytime we get a complaint, it's like, to me, the end of the earth, which is why we put a white hot. I mean, Jason, do you not? I mean, do we not treat every customer like they're our only customer? But when we're not perfect. So when we miss the mark, what goes through your mind when someone's not happy?
Oh, it makes me so mad. It makes me feel like I've personally failed. I want them to feel, like you said, when they come in, they are our only customer. We could have all 10 chairs rocking, but I want every single person to feel like it's their shop, they're running the show, they're the most important person.
And that's our entire vision, our entire focus is to make sure that every single customer is wowed, right? So you have to deliver in the short term. You can't just have an epic looking brand and logo and marketing. You've got to also deliver. Now, the next idea is, if you are really good at something and you have a great brand, now people have to find you. So, Devin, are you aware that people are now going on the internet to find the products and services they're looking for?
What?
Steve, are you now aware that according to Forbes, that's 88% of consumers now read reviews before buying a product or service?
Where? Like on the World Wide Web?
Steve, are you aware that now 9 out of 10 people start searching for something using their smartphone and this thing called Google? Devin, are you aware of Google?
What is this Google you speak of?
Google doesn't work.
So how do you get to the top of search engine results? How do you show up top in Google? Well, this is how you do it. There are 4 steps you have to take to get to the top of Google. There are 4 variables that will impact your rank on the Google search engine results. Just 4. And I'm going to walk you through them. And we have other more in-depth podcasts that will teach you how to do that. Or if you go to thrivetimeshow.com and you subscribe to the online videos, we have tutorials that will walk you through this. Step 1, you have to have the most objective reviews. And by the way, Jason, that's our goal today. The most objective reviews.
Yes.
Why do we have to be intentional, Jason, at Elephant in the Room, about gathering objective reviews from real clients?
Well, because it's going to put us at the top of Google, but also if we're not diligent on it, nobody else is going to be.
And the average person doesn't by default go, wow, my haircut was good. I should go online and write a review.
Exactly.
And again, according to Forbes, 88% of consumers trust online reviews as much or more than a personal recommendation. That's variable number 1. Variable number 2, Steve. You have to have the most HTML content. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, the standardized system for tagging text files to achieve font and blah, blah, blah. The point is you have to have the most words on your website. Why do you have to have the most original words, Steve?
Because the person with the most content and the most words wins. If you are the industry expert on a certain subject, like we talked about this with Wikipedia and the word cat. How many times is cat in the Wikipedia?
Over 660 times the word cat is listed on the Wikipedia for it's for the word dog.
Oh, dog. That's
the word
what it is.
dog. On the Wikipedia for the word the listing for the word dog appears over 660 times.
Yeah, I get my dogs and cats mixed up. But yeah, if you have the most content, and therefore you win.
So again, now there's only 4 ways that I know of to write content. So these are options that you could do. One is you could write a thoughtful blog, which I have never, ever met a client that is ever willing to do that consistently. I've never met a client ever who's willing to write a thoughtful blog, ever. I've never seen it. If you do, you'll be the first one. Big bonus points for you. Second is you're going to have to, another option is you can record podcasts. You can record, Steve, you could record podcasts.
Yeah.
Right?
You can, yeah.
Devin, you could do that.
It's possible.
And you could transcribe the content. Steve, how many podcasts have you recorded?
A lot. I think almost 200 podcasts.
Right. Third is you could have a team write content for you, which our Thrive Time team can do for you. We could write content for you. Or if you're a pastor out there listening, you could just preach and teach and then just record that and transcribe it. But you have to create the most content. When we come back, we're going to break down even more in depth how to get to the top of the Google search engine results. But if you're out there and you're driving a Ford automobile and that baby needs a repair, quit screwing around. Go to rcautospecialist.com to repair your Ford. That's rcautospecialist.com, and they will repair your Ford today.
Attend the world's best business workshop led by America's #1 business coach for free by subscribing on iTunes and leaving us an objective review. Claim your tickets by emailing us proof that you did it and your contact information to info@thrivetimeshow.com.
All right, Thrive Nation, welcome back to the Thrive Time Show on your radio. For anybody just tuning in today, we're talking all about branding, and there are 4 big ideas I want everyone to grasp. 1, what is branding? Branding is simply the collective impression that people have about a product or a service. To quote Elon Musk, brand is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it'll be ahead, other times it will be behind. But brand is simply a collective impression some have about a product. This is the guy behind PayPal, Tesla, SpaceX. All it is what do people think about when they think about you, okay? Second concept, you have to deliver or people are going to say bad things about you. You have to deliver or people are going to think that you're a flake. This is an example. One of my clients I work with is called Morrow and Lie Dentistry. Morrow and Lie Dentistry. We've been helping them with their marketing and their branding for this past year, and they are absolutely growing at a phenomenal rate. So I'm going to play an audio excerpt, an audio interview we did with April Lai, Dr. April Lai, that's L-A-I. Look him up. It's Morrow, Lie, and Kitterman Dentistry. It's mlkdentistry.com. And I'm going to play the audio excerpt so you can hear about the successes that they're having this year. And the only reason they're having these successes is because, 1, they asked us to help them and we taught them the system. But 2, they're actually doing the system. They're actually delivering. So they are growing at a phenomenal rate. So without any further ado, our exclusive audio interview here with Dr. April Lai from Morrow, Lie, and Kitterman Dentistry.
Hi, my name is April Lai. I started practicing pediatric dentistry in 2002. I went to Oklahoma State University for my undergraduate, and then I went to the University of Oklahoma, graduated in 1999, then went on to the University of Colorado Children's Hospital Pediatric Dental Residency, and started practicing with Mark Morrow in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We've always loved what we do. We love being pediatric dentists, but we just were not very good at putting our marketing ideas into practice. We've been able to implement our ideas and make them a reality. Since using the new approach, it's just brought a lot of new life to our practice. It's increased patients significantly, but it's also just brought, and our staff loves the common goal that we all have. It's just brought an excitement into our practice that we didn't have before. For instance, last August, we had 114 new patients. Compared to this August, we had 180 new patients. And it's just, at the end of the month, when you count that up, you just can't deny what an impact that this new marketing approach has had on our office.
Steve Currington with Total Ending Concepts. You have a hot take on that audio interview with Dr. April Lai about the growth of Morrow, Lai, and Kitterman Dentistry.
She went to OSU and OU.
Right.
Can you do that? When I see her, I want to talk to her about that. I was super excited. I was like, she went to OSU. And then she was like, but I graduated from OU.
Now, Steve, I went to Oral Roberts University.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I had a problem with Oral Roberts University, and by the way, I was just recently asked to speak at Oral Roberts University to teach pastors about branding. But this right here was the part that made me crazy about ORU. So I'm going to play an actual audio excerpt from a man who spoke at Oral Roberts University often. And I want you, Steve, you'll go first. Tell me the problem you have with this message. Because, again, branding is all about getting it's the collective impression. Get your logo, get your website, get all your marketing materials, make sure they look good. But the second is you have to actually deliver a product or service that people want, right? That's how you make money. You solve a problem for people that they're willing to pay you to solve. That's all you do. That's entrepreneurship. Find a problem that people have and solve it at a profit. That's all entrepreneurship is. But there's a guy who would come and speak at Chapel often. And this guy would make me so crazy every time he spoke that I had spent a little too much time here. And
you had to go to Chapel, right? Or you got fined?
Yeah, and I had to listen to this guy. So I'm going to play an audio excerpt from this guy preaching, and you tell me if you have a problem with this.
Okay.
Somebody shout hallelujah. I might preach in here like a wild man tonight in a few minutes. I'm telling you, the glory of God. I'm telling you, you're going to get your money tonight. I'm telling you, come on. Get up. Get up. Stand on your feet. Look, wait a minute. Look at somebody and tell them, it's my breakthrough time. Tell them, say, things are about to turn around for me, financially. Tonight.
Here it comes. Get ready.
I tell you, it's about to happen. I'm telling you, there's a prophetic anointing on this, and I'm telling you, it's about to happen. We're going to pull this lever.
This is how it happens.
I heard y'all call it lever up here. We're going to pull it 3 times. And when we pull it, something's going to happen to you.
We're going to start a business, right? No, you're just going to pull a lever.
Pull this lever.
Why you know? Because the Holy Ghost said so. That's why I know it's not by might, nor by power. It's by His Spirit. It's not by my eloquent speaking. It's not by me being such a great preacher. The Holy Ghost said so. That's why it's going to happen to you.
I think I hear you cheering in the background, Clay.
Oh, I was not. Listen, it gets better. Here we go. People are so excited.
You will never be the same after tonight.
Is he talking about branding or workflows or systems or accounting or? No, you just have to just claim it, I guess. Here we go.
Look at somebody and tell them my bill's paid. In full.
Oh, in full.
Steve, you did debt collection. That's how it works, right?
Right.
Okay. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. This guy, he's on fire now. Let's do a little bit more here, Tribe Nation. Try not to vomit. Here we go.
Money coming to me now.
Oh, wow.
Hercules.
And this guy used to preach that crap. And I went to churches growing up where they'd bring in these kind of morons. This guy's name is Leroy Thompson. Leroy Thompson.
It sounded like he stole an entire box of fortune cookies.
The biggest moron in the whole world. But people would go to chapel, and they had no skills, no business, no workflow, no accounting, no sales scripts. That's how you build a business, is with the real systems.
No, Clay, you go get a whole box of fortune cookies. He was, whenever there was pauses, he was turned around and he was like smashing it on the table.
Coming right now. What do you think about that kind of crap?
You will come into a fortune. Yes.
Seriously, you've heard these messages before, have you not?
Yes.
What is it? What do you think? Because I've met some people that they don't believe in Christ at all, and they make millions because they have a product that solves a problem. Yeah. And I know people who do believe in Christ that are, that
are in poverty.
Right, because they don't solve a problem. Can you talk about the spiritual ramifications of not having a viable product or service?
I think that people that the concept of just there's a book called The Secret. The concept of having like positive energy and positive flow and speaking things into your life.
Right, money cometh right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that you need to have a positive attitude, and that if you're a positive person, that you'll maybe attract some positive
So
things.
why don't you just why don't you say like, hey, step one, be positive. Now the rest of the sermon, we're going to talk about building a workflow.
Right, exactly. Well, what's funny is I didn't hear the end of that, but I guarantee you I didn't have to hear the rest of it because.
Stay tuned. It's the Thrive Time Show on your radio.
And now, broadcasting live from the box that rocks, it's the Thrive Time Business Coach Radio Show.
Time for higher learning and higher earning. Taking you to the top like we're hiking Mount Vernon. We're changing the mindsets like we're incense burning. Passing on the magic like our name was Irvin. Serving up that knowledge like I was a servant. And I cite what I say so you know I'm not a servant. The Thrive Time Show, bringing the heat while fervent. Giving it to you straight in a world that's swerving. Stacking the cash, making the dash. Earning the plaques, bringing it back. Bring me the track so I can get up on the mic and speak the facts. Stacking the cash, making the dash. Earning the plaques, bringing it back. Bring me the track so I can get up on the mic and speak the facts.
All right, Thrive Nation, welcome back to the conversation. It is the Thrive Time Show on your radio. My name is Clay Clark. I am the former United States Small Business Administration Entrepreneur of the Year, the father of 5 kids, the owner of 25 to 35 chickens, depending upon how many predators we have in the backyard at any given time. And we have four cats. And why am I telling you that? Because I'm a dude. I'm an average dude. I've happened to have, my partner and I, Dr. Zellner, we've built, between the two of us, 14 multi-million-dollar companies, and it's not because we're geniuses. We just understand the process. And the very beginning of the process is you want to have great branding. So there's 4 ideas I want all the listeners to get today. You want to make sure your logo and your website and everything that people see looks world-class. So just rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being an awesome brand and a 1 being terrible. And if you feel like you need some help with your branding, your logo, your website, your print pieces, anything people see or touch or interact with that relates to your company, just reach out to us today by going to thrivetimeshow.com. Schedule a one-on-one consultation, a 13-point analysis, and we can help you fix that. The second main idea is you have to deliver in the short term. You can't just talk about having the world's best pizza. The pizza has to be good. You can't just talk about having the world's best workshop. The workshop has to be good. You can't just talk about offering a great haircut experience. The haircut has to be good. And when possible, make it great. Now, the third concept I want to put in your mind, the third concept is you must make sure that people can actually find your product or service. And because the vast majority of humans start searching for the products and services they're looking for with a Google search from their smartphone, I think it's very important that everybody listening today knows how to optimize your website. So step number 1, there's variable number 1 that allows you to optimize your website, and that is you want to get the most reviews. Objective reviews. According to Forbes, 88% of consumers now trust online reviews as much or more than a personal recommendation. Step 2, you have to have the most original HTML content on your website. That stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And there's 4 ways you can do that. You could have a thoughtful blog that you write every day. You could record podcasts that you transcribe. You could hire a team to write articles for you. Or if you're a pastor or somebody who does a podcast, or you preach, you teach, or whatever you're doing, you can just transcribe what you're doing on a daily basis, and that will produce content for you. Now, the third variable that impacts your search engine rank is you have to have the most canonical compliance. You must adhere to Google's established rules. And so we have Devin on the show today. Devin is a member of the Thrive Time Show team. He's the web developer. Devin, can you explain what it means to have a Google canonically compliant, or a Google search engine compliant website?
Sure. So there are several different pieces to this. The most recent, I guess, shift probably here in the last 2 or 3 years has been moving towards mobile compliance, especially. And that's just making sure that your site looks good on phones. You know, people apparently are looking up things on your phone, and if it doesn't look good, or it doesn't scale down or respond to it being on your phone, then Google's going to start ranking those sites lower. You can't have junky code. So if the person who's built your website, or it's not built on WordPress, there's a high chance that your code just isn't going to be very clean, and it's going to slow down your site.
All right, and we can help you with that. So if you don't know if your site is up to par or what you can do to fix it, just reach out to us at thrivetimeshow.com. You can email us to info@thrivetimeshow.com. We can schedule a one-on-one consultation with you and show you how to fix your website. Now, the next move is you're going to have the most mobile compliance, as Devin just spoke about, okay? But it has to work in mobile. Now, the final branding concept I want to teach you today is you want to wow your customers. Steve, it's not good enough just to do a good job. You have to wow the customer, because when people are wowed, they tend to share now.
Yep.
The Harvard Business School did a case study, an article that appeared in the Harvard Business Review called The Number You Need to Grow. And it says here, and loyal customers talk up a company to their friends, family, and colleagues. This just in. In fact, such a recommendation is one of the best indicators of loyalty and growth because of the customer's sacrifice, if you will, in making the recommendation. When customers act as references, they do more than indicate that they've received good economic value from a company, but they put their own reputations on the line. Again, Steve Martin says, become so good they can't ignore you. The brands with the highest, they call it the Net Promoter Score, but it's how likely is somebody to refer you to a friend or family member. So you want to start to survey your customers and ask them, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest and 1 being the worst, how likely are you to recommend us to a friend or family member? And if they give you a score that ranks in that 9 and 10 range, you're going to grow. But, Steve, if you don't wow people, they're not going to come back.
Right.
Can you think of a restaurant in Tulsa, Steve, that you really like here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where maybe you and Sally go out to it often and you just think, man, this is a good restaurant?
Oh, man. We don't go out to eat that much, but I will tell you, in Bixby, which is where we live, the most popular is the Chick-fil-A. And you can't even go there between the hours of like 11 and 1.
Why?
Because there's literally like a line around the building. They take your order in line halfway around the building, and you don't even order from the drive-up thing anymore. And then right next to it, Popeyes, Ghost Town.
Hey, real quick, I have audio from the manager of one of the Popeyes chicken places who saw the huge line around the Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And he realized there's nobody in his line. I mean, logistically, if you want to get your chicken in like 10 minutes instead of 20, you could go over to they're next door. If you go to the Chick-fil-A and they're busy, you could go to Popeyes. And apparently, people don't want to do that. And so this is audio from and I can't verify it, but people have said this might be the audio of the manager of the Popeyes and what he was saying when he saw the line, how big it was at Chick-fil-A and how small his line. In fact, there wasn't a line at all. I mean, this is the audio that someone has alleged was from the manager reacting to the contrast of the Chick-fil-A line versus his lack of a line.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit smoking. Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking. Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines.
Quit amphetamines. Looks like I picked the wrong week. Oh, man. Terrible.
No, but seriously, why doesn't anyone go there? Devin, why doesn't anyone go to that Popeyes?
Because they aren't wowing anyone.
What?
They're the opposite of wow.
Billy. Real quick. I have audio from the assistant manager. And what he says, he gazed out the window and realized nobody's going to Popeyes, but everybody's going to Chick-fil-A, and we're next door to each other. This is what he allegedly said.
Oh, Billy.
No, so I guess Billy's the manager.
Oh, he was so upset. I saw him too. He was crying.
Devin, what's a restaurant that you go to that you absolutely love here in Broken Arrow or Tulsa, Oklahoma?
One that my wife and I absolutely love is Number One Kitchen. It's
What?
a Chinese restaurant. Number
I've
One
seen
Kitchen.
that there on Elm.
Yeah, it looks like a hole in the wall, but fantastic Chinese food.
Wow.
What was the name of the restaurant that you like so much?
It is Number One Kitchen.
Number One Kitchen.
Can I say something about Number One Kitchen? I heard that it's actually twice as good as its closest competitor, Number Two Kitchen. I mean, the gap between first and second is huge.
Beating up the competition.
Huge.
If you're out there and you're saying, you know what, I don't want to go to the second best automotive repair shop in Tulsa for my Ford. No, I have a Ford, and my Ford is number one. And I want to fix that. I want to fix that Mustang with class. I want to get it done the right way, at the right price, on time, on budget. I've got a transmission problem.
Yeah.
I've got a battery issue. I've got a suspension alignment issue. Buddy, you've got a lot of problems. But if I've got all these problems, I'm looking for 80 years of combined experience. You want to go and visit our good friends at RC Auto Specialists. Now, you might be saying to yourself, RC Auto Specialists? What's that? I struggle with memorizing names. And I would say to you, you just want to go check out RC Auto Specialists because they are so nice and so pleasant, and they've have over 80 years of combined experience. Their service is so nice and so, I wouldn't say sexy, but I would say it is beautiful. They just do a great job, and it just RC Auto Specialists. And you might be saying to yourself, listen, buddy, I'm not going to remember it unless you really go all out and really sell me on the dream of going to RC Auto Specialists. Fine. If you want your life to be amazing and you want money to cometh to you right now, go to rcautospecialist.com. RC, I can't guarantee money will cometh to you. You'll probably, in fact, give them money, but go to rcautospecialist.com. We always want to end the show with a boom, so here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom!